there's so many ants here? Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Hannah. This is going to be my video for the Sour Book tag, which I was tagged on Instagram by Sam Young's Books. Their YouTube channel is Love Sam. I took a page from Jayla's book and I'm gonna make this a video instead of doing an Instagram post. Jayla also shared a ranking of her songs in Sour in her video, but she left out my personal favorite, so I'm just gonna give you my rankings. My top 3, definitely Favorite Crime, because there's just something about that song, especially I think the fan edits. Like, why are there so many ants here? There's no food. What do you want from me? Why are they're swarming me? Go away. Don't go into my water, stop it. Anyways, Favorite Crime. I think I watched a lot of edits of them to couples and TV shows that I don't even watch. There's one that I watched for Fleabag where like the pastor dude and the girl, they broke up, like couples that weren't together anymore. I think there was also one for The Wilds where one of the girls who was underage was dating like this middle-aged dude, and I was like, wow, damn, that is a literal crime. Like, it's no longer a metaphor. Yeah, I really love Favorite Crime. I also really like Jealousy. No, stop it. Can you go back out into the wild? Like, stop. Okay, you know, there's just gonna be ants everywhere.
That's okay.
I also really like Jealousy. It's just like such a fun vibe, especially when you're like in your car with your friends. You can just sing that. Like, Good For You also has a similar vibe, but like, is Good For You one of my favorite songs? I don't know. I also really like Hope You're Okay. The lyrics in Hope You're Okay just hit. It like gives me all the sad vibes. I love those songs, but now we'll get on to the actual tag. Okay, now there's only 2 ants. Where did the 3rd one go? I guess we'll never know. First up is Brutal, my favorite bookish bad boy. I don't really like the bad boy trope. I don't actively go looking for it. I'm like much more into the soft boys, the nerdy boys. But Landon Carter from A Walk to Remember by Nicholas Sparks might be my favorite bad boy. He's also like one of the only bad boys that I know. This book made me sob. The movie also made me sob, but he has this bad boy teenage angst going for him. So I will say that he is a bad boy, but I love him because he's literally so sweet to Jamie. So he is my favorite bookish bad boy. Next, there's Traitor, a book you only read out of spite knowing you would dislike it. For this, I would have to say pretty much every adult contemporary enemies to lovers novel. I will give The Hating Game by Sally Thorne a special shout out. Yeah, I do not like enemies to lovers. It's just not my trope, but I read a lot of enemies to lovers novels like The Hating Game, Faker, You Deserve Each Other. I read so much and I knew that I wasn't gonna like any of them, but here we are. Driver's License, a book that makes you feel free. I'm not quite sure about this one. I'm gonna put down Radio Silence because it really just changed and challenged some of the preconceived notions I had about like success, pursuing higher education, and what you do to like be successful in like society standards. I also really love the mother-daughter dynamics between Frances and her mom and the found family that Frances has with her friends in this book. They're all really supportive and caring of one another. Also, you know that quote from The Perks of Being a Wallflower, like, in this moment I feel infinite, or something like that? For me, Radio Silence delivered on that teenage coming of age moment where like feeling on top of the world that The Perks of Being a Wallflower sort of just flopped on for me. So I would have to say Radio Silence. 1 step forward, 3 steps back. Favorite book couple who went through way too much. Again, I'm not really sure, but I'm gonna say Landon and Jamie from A Walk to Remember. They like definitely went through too much, which is also really just why I cried. Deja Vu, that one book you can't stop rereading. I recently reread The Lunar Chronicles. I'm not really big on rereading, but I recently reread The Lunar Chronicles. The books go by so fast. It's also super easy to just hop back into this universe and just catch up with the like cast of characters, even if you don't quite remember everything that happened in the books. So I definitely don't mind rereading the Lunar Chronicles. It's just really easy and fun to read. Good for you. An overhyped book you didn't like. Since I already mentioned The Hating Game, I'll choose a different book for this question, and for this I'll say Beach Read by Emily Henry. It's not a beach read. The cover, the title, very deceptive. If it rains half the time and you're dealing with like cults and dead children, I do not think that this is a beach read anymore. People we meet on vacation is more of a beach read than Beach Read is. I'll just say Beach Read by Emily Henry. I wasn't the biggest fan. I wanted a tropical, like, fun moment of summer lovin', and I didn't get that from this book, so I was a little disappointed. Enough for you. Your OG favorite series that you have moved on from. For this, I'm gonna say like the Selection series by Kira Cass. I loved it in middle school. I remember having those books out, having 2 to 3 of the books in my backpack and just reading through all my classes. It was amazing. I loved the book so much. I also was in the middle of my bachelorette phase when I was reading this, so like it was just a lot of trashy romantic drama that I was just eating it up. I don't care how bad this is. I loved it. I do want to reread this series. It's on my TBR. It's been on my TBR since like I got Goodreads to see if I still really like it, but definitely hasn't been a favorite. There have been a lot of books that have bumped the Selection down the list. Next up is Happier, a book that gave you the worst book hangover. Even when I read like really emotionally heavy books, I move on really fast. I do have to say that after I read No Visible Bruises, What We Don't Know About Domestic Violence Can Kill Us by Rachel Louise Snyder, I was in a state of shock. I was reading it on a plane, so like I was just like reading it in the dark because everybody else was asleep, and I was just like, God damn, like what the heck is this world? I had also just read A Spark of Light by Jodi Picoult before reading No Visible Bruises, so I was just reading a lot of literature, both fictional and non-fictional, about violence against women, and I don't know, it just like, I guess it did something to me, dampened my spirit a little, and it took me a moment to just kick myself out of that slump. Jealousy, the bookish world you do anything to move to. I would say either the Lunar Chronicles universe because their technology seems really advanced, or the China 1920s, like from These Violent Delights, because it's like historically inspired. Really, who isn't intrigued by 1920s Chinese mafia vibe? So either one of those. Both of them are technically in Asia because New Beijing for the Lunar Chronicles. I would have to say that I would only move to these places after people stopped dying every other second from a mysterious disease. I sort of like living. I'm not gonna move there in the middle of a gang war or like an intergalactic war with lunars. I do require some peace and stability in the areas that I'm moving to, so I would live there at the conclusion of these stories. The next song is Favorite Crime, a book you ditched your social life to finish. Okay, there's literally a lot of them because during school I used to just sit in my teacher's room to read, or I would bring my book out to like wherever my friends were sitting and I'd end up reading instead of actually talking to people. Yeah, there's a lot of books where I just ditched being a social being and I just committed to reading books. I do have to say that Esperanza Rising really took me out for a while, and hear me out. I know that this is a kid's book, but I read it in high school because I was reading it in Spanish. So I had a Spanish book report to do and I needed to read that. I wanted extra credit, so I read like an actual book, and it literally took me forever to finish that book. I was sitting there for like the first 10 hours, giving myself a massive headache for trying to translate every single word on the page. And I was sitting there with my friends who also took Spanish, but didn't choose the same book as I did or wasn't in the same level as Spanish as I was at the time. And I literally was like, okay, do you know what this word means? And it would be out of our scope of vocabulary, so I'd have to sit there, plug it into my translator, write it down so I would have it for future reference. Yeah, I literally was crying because it took me like 10 hours to read the first chapter. So I was sitting there like double checking to make sure the translation I had in my head matched up with like the translation like that I plugged into Spanish dictionary. So yeah, it took me a really long time to get through. By the end, I was sort of just like skimming the pages and I wasn't translating as seriously, double translating like I was in the beginning, because I learned to trust myself, to trust my knowledge in Spanish, and to just understand what was happening without triple checking every single sentence, because that took literally forever and it made me want to cry. I did cry because it hurt my head so bad. And then finally, Hope You're Okay, a book you regret unhauling or DNFing. Such a fun age, but I highly read. I DNF'd this earlier this year. I was just in a pinch to read it and I couldn't renew the book because it was like a new release, bestseller, all that stuff. So it was a 3-week thing and I hadn't read it by the end of the 3 weeks, and there really just was no desire to check it out again. To rush to finish the story either. I got, I think 3 chapters in and I was just like, this isn't clicking with me right now, so I'll just return it. It was just a DNF by circumstance, but I feel bad for DNFing it. Definitely, I do want to try and read it again, but when I don't have a pressure to finish it in a day. I do hope that it goes better than the first time though. And with that, I'm going to say that wraps up my tag. I'm going to tag pretty much everyone because I don't know who wants to get tagged or not, so I'll tag everyone. If you see this, you got tagged, go make a video or make an Instagram post, because this started on Instagram. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Stay fresh, and I will catch you later.